Welcome to this starting guide for Manor Lords in early access. So you've just started a fresh save. What are some of the first things you're going to want to do? So I would start with pausing the game. Let's just have a little look around. Let's have a look at the map. So if we zoom out, let's have a look where we're at. So we have started in the Nuslor region. So you can start in any of the regions as far as I understand. We have various resources in this region. So the resources with the crown on top are rich deposits. So we have a rich deposit of berries and a rich deposit of wild animals. We also have limited deposits of clay, stone, and iron. And once those deposits are gone, they are gone. They won't come back. We do have things like berries and wild animals, which are fairly well, berries are seasonal, and wild animals, once they are gone, they're gone. If you overhunt them, they will not come back. So you have to be very careful of this. So if you're placing a building, you'll get this red circle. So if you overlap into the animal habitat, this will cause migration. So you really want to avoid building too close to this deposit, and you also want to avoid over hunting these animals. So let's take a look at the other regions. Our neighboring regions have some rich deposits of iron and clay. So for example, if we wanted to expand out after this region and move in here, we could use that iron to build out our army and start making weapons and armor. And then we have quite a few other regions. So these yellow regions are already regions claimed by Hildebold. So we do have him right on our border here. And these grey regions are currently unclaimed. So if we wanted to claim a region, we could claim with influence, but that's something a bit further down the line. So when you start a game in Manor Lords, you will get one ox attached to this hitching post. You start with 50 regional wealth. So what you can do is order another ox for 20 regional wealth. The important thing here is that you also build yourself an additional hitching post. Otherwise, this ox is not going to stay with your camp. This ox will help with construction. They will help with hauling logs, and you can assign them to logging camps. So they're extremely useful early on when you're doing a lot of building and expanding. So we've got our ox on the way. What is the next step? So we start the game immediately with a couple of challenges. So we have 5 families currently available. They don't have anywhere to live, so we need to build some burgage plots for them. But before we get too excited and start building houses for them, there are additional challenges as well. We have these supplies here, and we have these food supplies as well. So keeping in mind that we only have 8 timber currently, I always go and start with a logging camp. You can just build this somewhere where it's pretty close to the woods. I try not to have too many trees uprooted for the construction, but it's important to have this first, because if we want to build some storage and we want to build housing, it's not going to be enough timber in the beginning to cover all of that. So we want to get our logging camp set up first, so we can set that to high priority and get that built. And while our logging camp is under construction, we can start building out our granary and our storehouse. So while these are being built, it's always good to familiarize ourselves with our food and fuel situation. So we currently have 4 months worth of food, and we're not currently consuming any fuel because we don't have any houses built yet. But that will change very soon once this logging camp is set up. So once we have our houses and we have some good timber income, we can set up a hunting camp here so that we have some food income from this rich wild animals deposit while we get everything else in order and we are building the houses later on. Now our logging camp is built and we have assigned some families there, and we also have our second hitching post, and we have 2 oxen available ready to help with construction. So they can help with moving things like logs, and they're just going to make this whole early process a lot quicker. But now we've built some buildings, it's important to start using roads. So roads actually don't cost any resources. They're very easy to build. You can make them any shape you want, really. Families move a lot quicker on roads, so it's important to build out roads to various camps. Don't be afraid to just use them. It's very easy to get rid of them as well. So if you just hold Alt, and while you're on the roads construction, if you just hold Alt and press left click, you can remove the road and it costs absolutely nothing. So just build these anytime you want. You can add and remove them. You can create much more efficient paths with them and just get creative with it. So now that we have our granary and our storehouse built, we should assign one family each to these so that they can start moving these goods over from our settlers camp into this storage, and we won't have the exposed goods issue that we have at the very beginning. And our hunting camp has just finished being built, so I'm going to assign a family to this so that we have some food income. Good to keep in mind that if we do want to build more things, we will need more families available that are unassigned up here, but just for now I'm going to leave that so that we have a little bit of food coming in, and then we can build some houses. So we currently have 15 timber, and there are some immediate next steps here. So we can free up one family from this logging camp, and we need to build some houses. But before we do that, there are some additional things that we're going to need that are very quick to construct and are quite useful to just have before we start building the houses. So families are going to need a couple of things. They're going to need a water supply, so we can see where the water is in this region. It's good to keep in mind because you will need this water if you get attacked and your buildings are set on fire. They will use these wells to put that out. So if we're going to start building some houses over in this region, we can just build a well very close there. So I think actually I'm just going to build that well there. And the other thing that families will be requesting, and they have already requested, is a marketplace. So you can just go to the residential tab over to marketplace, and this is where families are going to be bringing all of their goods. So if we just build one quite central here, that is 29 store locations. I think actually that's a little bit too big. Let's make a smaller one. This will be the one that has priority at the very beginning. So until this is full, they will be constantly taking goods here. So let's build that, and that's basically it. It doesn't take any construction. People will start filling this up when they have goods and they're ready to go. This hunting camp is already bringing in some food, and you can see that we now have 4 months supply of food, and all of our goods have been moved from over here. And I think it's worth actually moving this hitching post. So something to keep in mind is you can move quite a lot of buildings. It's very good to just relocate them to somewhere where it's actually going to be a lot more useful and functional. So I'm just going to move it over to this side of the road. And now that we have our well fully built over here, I'm going to take someone off the granary and a family off of the logging camp to maximize the number of available families we have to start building these houses. So if we just go over to the residential tab, go to burgage plot, and we can just build a couple of houses over here. So we need 5 in order to meet the current requirements. I'm building these quite large because when you hit the last plot point, you can actually change the number of houses here. And what I want to do is leave enough space so that each plot has an extension. This is beneficial generally for taxes later on to help you maximize your income per household. So let's get these built. So we have 4 houses built there. We're just going to add another one just on the end here. And there we go. As we've built this 5th house, we have immediately got a development point. How you spend that development point is going to be up to you. I think for this region, there are lots of things that we could look at. So we do have very, very good, both rich food deposits. We can come over to construction and we can look at the general fertility for this land. So Emma is wheat. You have flax, barley, and rye. So really for rye, that might be an option here. We do have some areas, but generally it's not the best in terms of fertility for farming. So we could actually spend this first development point in trapping or forest management. Or if we do want to go for something like orchards, we could go for that as well. So now that we have these houses, we are going to have some fuel consumption requirements. We have 4 months worth of fuel at the moment, and we don't have anyone gathering logs. So I think we'll put one more family back on logs. And what we'll need to do is build a woodcutter's lodge. So woodcutter's lodge will take these logs and make them into firewood for us. So let's get that built. So we have a woodcutter's lodge now. We'll assign one family to that. Good thing to keep in mind also is this number up here. It says 3, so we have 3 months worth of fuel remaining. It will take the lowest number, whether that is food or fuel. So just keep in mind that you might have a very good supply of one thing, but you're very low on the other. Generally, I like to have at least 12 months worth of supply of both, but in the early stages, that's not too bad. You can adjust quite easily. So the next steps here in this starting guide are we want to look at upgrading our burgage plots to level 2. So in order to get medium village, we need 2 of them upgraded. However, each burgage plot has the same requirements. So yellow means that we have already met this requirement, so we built that water access already. We have fuel at the market, and we have 2 different types of food available. So we have currently meat and bread available. What we want to do is we are going to need a church, and we're also going to need a clothing stall. So in order to meet the clothing requirement, because we already have a hunting camp, those hunters are gathering hides. And in order to get those hides into leather, we want to build a tannery. So if we just build that relatively close in the direction of our hunting camp and not too far from our storehouse. So each of these burgage plots have various requirements. So that tannery will allow us to meet this clothing store requirement. And the other thing that we have missing is a wooden church. But before we get to that, there is something else that we need to look at. Each of these burgage plots have the ability for a backyard extension. So if we just click on that, there are various options here. We don't have the burgage level for these ones yet, but the basic ones are a vegetable garden, a chicken coop, and a goat shed. Since we already have hides coming in, I don't think we need that. Chicken coop has the ability for eggs, but that costs 25 regional wealth, and the vegetable garden is 15. So if we actually want to get some additional food, like currently we only have meat and bread, we can get berries as well, but if we want vegetables, we can grow this into a vegetable patch. And since that we have 30 regional wealth, that would allow us to do 2 of these. So this is a really easy way just to get some additional food income in the early game. So we're going to add a couple of vegetable patches here, and you can see how that changes the garden. And they're going to start planting these, and they will take a little bit of time to grow, but they don't need any additional management. The family in here will just take care of that. So that's really nice little extra. So there we are. Our tannery has been built. I think we can assign 1 family to that, and what they will do is they can take these hides from the storehouse and they can turn that into leather, and that will help meet this requirement for the clothing supply. So now we have a decent approval rating. It's over 50% because of the food variety. We can now have more families moving into this region. So we have 5 families and 5 areas of living space. What we can do is actually upgrade some of these houses to have additional living space. So that costs a couple of logs, and we can upgrade that so we can start having people move in, and they'll already have somewhere to live once this is upgraded. And then we can have more people available to work these various jobs. So I think what we'll do now that we've done those 2, we can expand the living space for each of these. And then we can look at building out a church. You can also see that now we have met this requirement for the clothing stall. So we do have a couple of leather, and we have got this box ticked, and the only thing remaining is the wooden church. So we have all of these upgraded, and our living capacity is now up to 10. So as long as we maintain this decent approval rating, people will start moving in, and we can have more people available to do various jobs. So what do we need for a church? So if we just go over to construction in the residential tab, there is a wooden church. It has 3 different requirements. It needs 5 logs, 20 planks, and 10 stone. So we haven't actually farmed any stone yet. We do have a stone deposit over here, but given that we have 10 left, we don't actually need that, but we do need some planks. So just to free up some people for this, I think I'm going to take somebody off of the storehouse and somebody off of the woodcutter's lodge. We'll put another person onto the logging camp temporarily, and in order to get some planks we need a saw pit. So let's just put that in this nice little spot here, and we can get that built. So our saw pit has been built, and we can assign a family there, and we can start gathering some planks. So now that we have 25 planks, I'm going to take this person off and we can just finish gathering some logs. So we're in summer of year 1 and we now have all of the requirements we need for a wooden church. So let's just plop that down there and let's get that built. And there you have it. Our wooden church has been built. So this takes a little bit of time to come through. So if we just fast forward this. And now we have the church requirement. So we are now able to upgrade these to level 2 with 4 timber each. The benefit of doing this is obviously it meets these requirements for the small village. And it also starts allowing us to generate some more regional wealth per family. So since we built that extension already, there's the opportunity for 2 families. We only have 1 in here at the moment, but there's opportunity for 2 families to be generating regional wealth for us. We might want to actually look at one of these where it already has 2 families and then upgrade that first. So that family will be generating 2 regional wealth for us per month. And if we upgrade that one, and let's just wait for that one to come in. So there you have it. We have these 2 burgage plots leveled up to level 2, and they do now have a bunch of different requirements, but that is a very good general start to how to get started in Manor Lords. You've got 2 development points we can spend here. There's a lot of places that we can go from this point, but those are some really useful tips just to get you started. We've got quite a healthy food and fuel supply now, and we've had people moving in, so we can obviously build more houses out. We can start farming if we wanted to. We can start going for these berries. There's so many options from this point onwards. That's just the very, very beginning. And I definitely encourage to play at your own pace. Don't feel like you have to rush to expand or build things in any specific way. And don't feel like you have to rush to expand or go to new territories. Just play at your own pace. Enjoy it, and I highly recommend it. If you just press Control-C, you can also go into cinematic mode, which changes the camera slightly, and you can obviously do a couple of like flyovers in your village just to get a nice feel for it. And also, if you press Control-C again, if you go up to this portrait here and just click on the eye icon and go to visit mode, you can walk through your town. This is just what we've built. It's a living, breathing town. You've got these vegetable gardens at the back there. You've got that church that we've just built. And you can really get a feel for what it's like. And this is one of the reasons why I really, really enjoy this game. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that very quick starter guide for all the things you need to know to get started in Manor Lords. Keep an eye out for more guides. Do give us a like and a subscribe if you like the video. Drop any comments below if there's anything else you think I've missed or you'd like to see in future guides. I'd love to hear it. And thanks for watching. See you in the next one.